It started with a simple promise, a promise of freedom. On January 1, 2024, the citizens of Kosovo finally gained visa-free travel to Europe's Schengen zone. For years, they were the last in the Western Balkans to be excluded, living in a kind of open-air cage. Imagine being a young person, seeing your friends in neighboring countries, post photos from Paris, Rome, or Berlin, while your passport held you back. This isn't just about vacations, it's about opportunity, education, business. For Kosovars, this long-awaited change was a monumental step, a taste of the normality they have craved for so long. It was a tangible sign that perhaps Europe was finally beginning to see them as equals. But this victory, as significant as it is, casts a long shadow over a much larger, more existential question. Why did it take so long? Kosovo declared its independence in 2008, yet today, its sovereignty is still a matter of fierce international debate. Its passport, while now more powerful for European travel, is still not recognized by dozens of countries, including 5 members of the European Union itself. This single fact reveals a deep and unsettling reality. For the nearly 2 million people of Kosovo, the struggle for full recognition is far from over. To understand Kosovo, you have to understand the country it was once a part of, Yugoslavia. For decades it was a unique experiment. Under its longtime leader Marshal Tito, a fragile peace was maintained through a powerful ideology of brotherhood and unity. Different ethnicities, Serbs, Croats, Bosnians, Slovenes, Macedonians, Montenegrins, and Albanians, lived together, intermarried, and shared a common national identity. When Tito died in 1980, the foundation of that house began to crack. The central government weakened. Ambitious politicians, most notably Slobodan Milosevic in Serbia, rose to power by stoking the flames of ethnic grievance. He began stripping Kosovo of the autonomy it had enjoyed under the Yugoslav constitution, a move that was seen by the province's majority Albanian population as a direct assault on their rights and identity. By the late 1990s, the simmering conflict in Kosovo had boiled over into open warfare. The peaceful resistance movement was increasingly overshadowed by the Kosovo Liberation Army, or KLA. Milosevic unleashed a campaign of brutal repression against the Kosovo Albanian population. It was a deliberate strategy of terror, designed to crush the independence movement. Nearly 1 million people, the vast majority of them Kosovo Albanians, were driven from their homeland, creating the largest refugee crisis in Europe since the Second World War. On March 24, 1999, NATO launched a 78-day air campaign against Serbian military and strategic targets. Not just in Kosovo but in Serbia proper. But for the Kosovo Albanian refugees, the sound of NATO jets overhead was the sound of hope. It meant the world had not forgotten them. In June 1999, Milosevic finally capitulated. The war was over, but the question of Kosovo's future was just beginning. The years following the war were a period of limbo. Kosovo was officially still part of Serbia, but it was governed by the United Nations and protected by NATO. After years of failed diplomacy, UN Special Envoy Marty Ahtisaari concluded that the only viable path forward was supervised independence for Kosovo. But Serbia, backed by Russia, flatly rejected the proposal. Faced with this diplomatic dead end, on February 17, 2008, Kosovo unilaterally declared its independence. The first country to formally recognize the new state was Costa Rica, followed by Afghanistan and the United States, which had been the principal architect of the NATO intervention. Major European powers quickly followed suit. The United Kingdom, France, and Germany announced their recognition, viewing an independent Kosovo as essential for anchoring the Western Balkans in a European future. For the people of Kosovo who had gathered in the streets of Pristina to celebrate, it felt like their long, painful struggle had finally been validated. While Pristina celebrated, Belgrade seethed. For Serbia, Kosovo is not just a piece of land, it is the cradle of its civilization, religion, and national identity. Serbia was not alone in its opposition. Its most powerful ally, Russia, stood firmly in its corner, using its veto power to block any UN resolution endorsing Kosovo's statehood. The issue also created a deep rift within the European Union. While heavyweights like Germany, France, and the UK recognized Kosovo, 5 EU members did not: Spain, Greece, Romania, Slovakia, and Cyprus. Kosovo's quest for recognition became a global diplomatic battle, fought country by country, with Serbia and Russia actively campaigning to halt and even reverse recognitions. It was a stark reminder that in international relations, principles are often shaped by power and self-interest. For any new nation, the ultimate prize of international legitimacy is a seat at the United Nations. Full UN membership would be the final, undeniable confirmation of Kosovo's statehood. But the path to that peak is guarded by the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, each holding the power of a veto. The primary obstacle is and has always been Russia. This diplomatic brick wall has effectively frozen Kosovo's ambitions for full UN membership. Without a green light from the Security Council, the doors of the UN General Assembly will remain closed. This reality has forced Kosovo to pursue a different strategy, building legitimacy one recognition at a time. The number peaked at around 117 countries, but Serbia has launched an aggressive derecognition campaign. This has created a parallel universe for Kosovo. It is a member of the World Bank and IMF. Its athletes compete in Olympics, but it's barred from UNESCO and Interpol. Beyond the high-level diplomacy, the lack of full recognition has a profound impact on Kosovo's people. Imagine being a talented entrepreneur who can't easily register your company internationally. This division is most visible in the city of Mitrovica. The Ibar River cuts the city in two. South is predominantly Albanian, north is predominantly Serb. The Kosovo Serb community finds themselves caught between Pristina and Belgrade, living in a parallel system, using Serbian currency, following Serbian curricula. For families living on either side of the Kosovo-Serbia border, the political dispute creates practical nightmares. Crossing the border can be an ordeal, turning a simple family visit into a bureaucratic headache. The human cost of this frozen conflict is measured in missed opportunities, divided communities, and a persistent sense of insecurity that prevents the entire region from moving forward. The unresolved status of Kosovo is a ticking clock for the entire Balkan region. In the past year, tensions over issues as seemingly minor as license plates have escalated into violent clashes. The NATO-led Kosovo force has been on the ground since 1999, and its nearly 4,000 troops are the ultimate guarantors of security. But this is peacekeeping, not a permanent solution. The European Union has been leading a high-stakes diplomatic effort, the Brussels Dialogue, aiming to normalize relations between Kosovo and Serbia. But progress has been painfully slow. The risks of failure are immense. A permanently frozen conflict would condemn the Western Balkans to instability, creating a vacuum that can be filled by external actors like Russia. This is a critical test of the EU's ability to resolve conflicts in its own neighborhood and finish the work started in the 1990s, building a Europe that is whole, free, and at peace. The most immediate track is the EU-facilitated dialogue with Serbia. A Franco-German proposal, backed by the EU and US, has laid out a potential roadmap focusing on normalization rather than formal recognition. If an agreement can be reached, it could unlock a cascade of positive developments, paving the way for Kosovo to join key international bodies, potentially even creating a pathway to UN membership. For the people of Kosovo, normalization would mean the end of their isolation. It would bring a sense of security and finality that has been missing for more than a quarter century. This is why Kosovo's story is so critical right now, in 2025. The world is at a crossroads. The principles of international law and self-determination are being tested like never before. The fate of this young European nation will signal whether diplomacy can triumph over conflict, whether multi-ethnic democracies can thrive, and whether the promise of a stable, integrated Europe can finally be fulfilled. The final chapter of Yugoslavia's story has yet to be written, and the world is watching.